everybody, how are you? This video is coming out a lot later than I hoped it would. August and September have been extremely hectic for me. This is the current journal that I've been working in. It's a Moleskine extended 400-page journal. This sticker is a piece of artwork from Ren on Paper. I'll link her Instagram in the description. I've been slowly adding a couple stickers here and there to my journal, and it's getting pretty fat as I write in there. I started this journal on June 26th of this year. I had handed the journal to Ren and asked her to put a little piece of art in the front. So she had done my initials and had added a bunch of little things that mean something to me. August, I want to do a little intro into August before I start. So I figured maybe I would just do a little bit of stuff in my journal while I talk for a moment. August is an example of journaling through times of stress and exhaustion. So to set the stage, I work the graveyard shift and we're shorthanded. We've been shorthanded since 2015, so it's not anything new. Currently, I'm working 10 to 15 hours of overtime every week. On top of that, I actually live 81 miles away from my job currently because we bought a house in a different state back in 2021, and I've been commuting to my old job, which is 81 miles away. So that means on top of working, possibly 60 hours a week, I'm also driving 90 minutes to 2 hours one way for my commute. And also in August, my youngest son is home from college. So I am very overworked, too much driving, a serious lack of sleep, trying my best to work in some quality time with hubby and kiddo while he's home from college. So there's kind of like to set you up for August. And I'm sorry if I sound tired because I am. I got about 3 hours and 20 minutes of sleep today. So this is the August cover page that I did for the month, and I absolutely hate it, but it's done and it is what it is. I had seen something similar to this on Facebook and thought I would try it, and I don't like the way that it turned out. I am not a bullet journaler, but I often see things within the bullet journaling videos that I think could help my life get a lot more organized. And I did these just printed these out from Excel to do a step tracker and a monthly water tracker. I figured maybe if I started at something very small and simple, that I didn't have to do a lot of artwork, because I just threw in a couple stickers and I printed these out. So it really took minimal effort for me, that I could maybe slowly incorporate a little bit of the bullet journaling into my life. But as you could see, it's hard to track the water because you really have to make the effort to do that. Whereas the step tracker, my Fitbit keeps track of that, whether I care to track it or not. I can always go back and backfill. I gave myself some little stickers on the days that I exceeded my goal, which is the 10,000 steps. Another thing that I tried for the month is a little bit of daily. So I actually printed these out on label or sticker paper and cut them out that I would track 5 things every month or every day. So it's prepping the coffee pot, scooping the litter box, taking my medication, journaling, and getting my 10,000 steps. And so this is my attempt to try to insert a little bit of the organization of bullet journaling into my diary keeping. We had the full supermoon. So I'll just do a quick flip through of this. I'm more going to focus on the month in review that I did at the end. I also tried to write some things that I was grateful for on my daily tracker. And these little stickers here are done by Ren from Ren on Paper. She has a Redbubble shop and her Instagram that she does digital downloads, and you can just print them out on sticker paper or whatever. Most of my journaling is just writing. Anytime I do anything above and beyond that, like artistically, is just that. It's above and beyond the stickers, things like that. It's just extra. This day here is my sunflowers that I was growing. My son, my husband doing a cookout and a diorama that my son and I had made, and we had s'mores later that night. And my son and I visited a museum. One of the books that I'm hoping to write is a true crime that happened, and at some point the person who committed the crime had come through the area where I live now, and this is an old jail door from the jail where he was actually held for a couple days. And that was all the way back in 1825. So I find it fascinating to see like real pieces of history from the story that I'm writing. There's lots of writing. I didn't like the size of the labels that I was doing for the daily tracker. So then I tried using the Excel spreadsheet, and I printed out those same 5 things just in strips, and then I cut them all out and tucked them in the back of my journal so that every day I could just pull it out and put it at the bottom of the sheet. I felt like it was less obtrusive than the larger, having this large label either at the top or the bottom of the sheet. So I switched to these small strips. Trying to do some meal planning, like a master grocery list, brainstorming. Every once in a while I put cards. I have a big stash of cards that I had bought at a yard sale. Pick through those and use them. Because my sunflowers are starting to bloom, and they're really tall. They're almost as tall as my house. And I also planted black-eyed Susans this year, and it was the second time I tried to grow them, but it was the first time that they actually grew, which they are amazing. I love them. Lots of writing. That's after almost 40 years of journaling, the writing is just default, what I do every day. We had gone to the carnival, and the newspaper had a interesting shot from the Ferris wheel, so I ripped that out and glued that into my journal. Bought a water bottle in my water tracking thing. I thought it would be easier to have a gallon jug, and a 4,000 piece puzzle that we bought. The book that I finished. The end of the month, I had wanted to do my review, so I printed out a couple pictures, one of my sunflowers and my black-eyed Susans that were growing really well. And then we flip into the month in review. So the first of the month, we had the supermoon. On the second of the month, I joined Reddit and created an account called Sarah Journals and made my very first post. Also on that day, I was driving on the DC Beltway and something flew out of the back of a dump truck and smashed all over the windshield of a car that was 2 vehicles in front of me, which caused him to slam on his brakes, caused the car behind him to slam on his brakes. And so I had to slam on my brakes to try to avoid hitting them. And I felt something actually snap. And I had a hard time stopping and ended up having to swerve into the lane behind the dump truck, which luckily nobody was there, and found out that it actually busted one of the calipers, my brake calipers. So I had to take my car to the shop. On the 4th is the day that my son and I assembled a Walking Dead diorama. We had the sausages on the grill. My son made cream of spinach from scratch. We had the s'mores. We went to the local library and I got a library card, and we went to that museum with the prison door that I had mentioned. On the 8th was one of my brother's birthdays. On the 9th, I found out that I was losing my medical insurance, which is not going to be fun to figure that out. On the 10th, I bought a couple plane tickets. My son to go out to Seattle, and I'm going to Florida for a little vacation with my mom. I had enough points that I was able to get my plane ticket for a whopping $11, which is really nice. On the 11th, a pipe underneath our kitchen sink came loose and flooded our kitchen floor somewhat and went down into the basement. So we had to figure out how to fix that one. Luckily, it was just something that had worked loose, and it wasn't something where we had to call a plumber to actually fix. On the 14th, we had a really serious storm, and it caused water to pour in from the ceiling at work, and so maintenance had to get involved, and there was an all-night fiasco at work. And my husband is in college right now trying to get his bachelor's degree. He's towards the end, and he ended up getting removed from one of his classes by an automatic system where you have to submit an intro assignment by midnight on a certain day or it automatically kicks you out. So he did not make that deadline, and he got booted, which was a very stressful day for us. Speaking of stress, so my family is one of those people who always is telling me that I am stressed out. And I always deny that I'm stressed out because I've always kind of had this mentality where I kind of gaslight myself. So no matter what I feel, someone has it worse, so I can't be feeling what I'm feeling. So like when I was a teenager and we had moved from Germany to the United States, and I was very depressed and missing all of my friends. And one day I was just in my bedroom and I was feeling so incredibly sad, and I called one of those hotline numbers. And while I was on hold, I started feeling guilty for even calling the number, because all I could think about is out there somewhere is someone who has lost their job, they're going through a divorce, their child has died, and they need to talk to somebody, and they're going to be put on hold because some 15-year-old teenage girl is sad because she moved. So I felt really guilty, and I hung up and never called. And I've kind of always been that way. No matter if I'm tired because of work, well, guess what? There's doctors and lawyers who are working twice as much as I am. And so how can I complain? I have a job. So why can I even, moan and groan about all the hours that I'm working? If I'm hungry, there's somebody that's hungrier. If I'm mad, there's someone that's madder. So I always kind of gaslight myself and invalidate my own feelings. So when my family tells me that I'm stressed out, my first answer is denial. Like, I'm not stressed out. I have a really good life. Everything's going really well. I get to do the art and the things I want to do. I have a really good job. I'm not stressed out. And then I go to the doctor for all my back problems, and the doctor's telling me, you're way too stressed out. You need to learn how to relax. And I'm arguing with the doctor. I'm not stressed out. And finally, I discovered that my Fitbit has a little stress score on it. And let's see, it was on the 16th. All right. So I went back to the month of August on the 16th and wrote down the scores that I had recorded, and the lowest was a 68 and the highest was a 81. And their scale is, 1 to 30 is low stress, 31 to 50 is moderate stress, 51 to 70 is high stress, and 71 to 100 is very high stress. And a very high score signifies that you are experiencing extreme stress levels and should prioritize stress management immediately. So I was like, what do I do with this information? Like, this is my just day-to-day life. I'm so used to this. I have a hard time admitting that I have stress, because what am I really stressed about? But, my family telling me that I'm stressed. My doctors are telling me that I'm stressed. Now my Fitbit is showing me these numbers, and my Fitbit's telling me that I'm stressed. So maybe it's time to finally admit, okay, maybe I'm stressed, and start to deal with that. The 18th was my 15-year anniversary at work, and I started reading that book, Cabin at the End of the World. The 20th, I started having something funky go on with my eye, like pink eye, but it went away on its own after a couple days. On the 25th was one of my son's birthdays, and because I found out that I was losing my medical insurance, I started scanning around for jobs, because I'm thinking, I need a job with better insurance than what my job offers. And I actually had a job interview that day, and they wanted me to take some classes before they would think about hiring me. So it was one of those stressful little days where I was calling around trying to find classes that I could get into so that I wouldn't lose this job opportunity. Because when you interview for jobs, they're like, oh, we're interviewing 3 other people and we have only 2 openings. So the first 2 of you that can have all these classes lined up can have the job. That was the day that we went to the county fair. On the 26th, I tried the poke bowl place for the first time. It's like a Hawaiian food. It is extremely spicy, but really good. I'd love to go back there. And a 4,000-piece map puzzle that we ordered arrived that day. On the 28th, I finished the book, The Cabin at the End of the World, and my boss brought in a German chocolate cake, which I had, jokingly said that I wanted for my 15-year anniversary at work. But he took me seriously and brought it in. My August step goal was 310,000 steps, and I got 252,000, which was 81% of my goal. So I know that I didn't do the monthly review really well, but to be honest with you, I was so exhausted for so much of the month, and I'm still exhausted because I haven't really gotten to a place where I can sleep and relax yet. So I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm sure that you've all been in that position before. Some days I journaled and it would only be a paragraph, and some days I journaled and it would be 10 pages of me just pouring out all of my stress and tension, trying to figure out, like, how do you de-stress? I don't even understand the concept of that. Like, I don't know. I don't know, like, what exactly this whole relaxing thing is. And, you know, I jokingly talk with my coworkers, like, what is this relax? I don't know what that means. Because I thought I was relaxing when I, you know, spend time with my family and we go hiking and I do photography and I do journaling. But how am I still so stressed when I feel like I'm not? So I would definitely love to hear some comments if you have any tips or advice or insight that maybe I just don't see at this point. But I would just encourage you that no matter how stressed and exhausted you are, just keep journaling through it the best that you can, even if it's just the tiniest little bit. I hated the August cover thing. My review is just mostly stickers with a couple little silly sentences, and most of this is just ranting and not anything really pretty or artistic. So that is how my August went. Here we are on September 19th. Still not sleeping. I did a cute little calendar for September with the watercolor markers, trying to do like a gradient of fall leaf colors from the yellow to the red, and had my son help me and tried to teach him a little bit how those markers work. I really liked how this turned out. I wish, you know, that I always put this much effort into the things that I put into my journal, but I don't. But it is what it is. Almost 40 years of this, and it's just, it varies. Sometimes it's amazing and sometimes it's not. So I will touch back base with you guys soon, because heck, we're into September, right? So hopefully I won't be as delayed in getting out the September spread. So I hope you guys are having a great month, an easier month than I am. If you're stressed and exhausted, just commiserate with me in the comments. I will comment back. I promise. You guys take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.